Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into what might just be the ultimate paradox of human progress. We're going to explore a deeply fascinating, yet pretty sobering irony, how the very forces of human development, industrialization, and modernization inadvertently fueled the world's leading cause of death. We're talking, of course, about cardiovascular disease. It's a story of incredible medical triumphs, totally shadowed by unintended lifestyle consequences. And honestly, understanding this balance is absolutely vital for our global future.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. First, the world's biggest killer. Second, the epidemiologic transition. Third, a tale of two worlds. Fourth, the drivers of the epidemic. And finally, altering the trajectory.
The world's biggest killer. I want to hit you right out of the gate with this staggering number, 19 million. In the year 2022 alone, cardiovascular disease accounted for over 19 million deaths worldwide. It's a massive, almost incomprehensible figure that completely transcends borders, economies, and cultures.
And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer scale of it all. Cardiovascular disease is responsible for 32.8%, nearly a third, of all human deaths globally. It absolutely dwarfs communicable diseases and injuries. But you know what's truly wild? It wasn't always this way.
Just think about this historical contrast for a second. Before the 20th century, cardiovascular disease accounted for less than 10% of mortality. Back then, infectious diseases and malnutrition were the main killers of humanity. So it really begs the question, how on earth did we go from less than 10% to nearly 33%? How did heart disease become the defining epidemic of our time?
Section 2. The Epidemiologic Transition. To understand the why, we need to look at what experts call the epidemiologic transition. This maps human progress across 5 distinct eras, moving from pestilence and famine prior to the 1900s, through receding pandemics, into the eras of degenerative and then delayed degenerative diseases, all the way up to our current emerging crisis of inactivity and obesity. Let's actually break down what happens in these stages. During those first 2 stages, humanity achieved some of its absolute greatest victories. We built robust public health systems, we cleaned up our water supplies, and we vastly improved our nutrition. This successfully drove down infant mortality and beat back infectious diseases like tuberculosis and cholera. But ironically, this amazing progress meant people were suddenly living long enough for chronic cardiovascular diseases to actually emerge. Then, as we moved into stages 3 and 4, the world rapidly industrialized and urbanized. Our lifestyles changed completely. We saw a sharp increase in caloric intake, particularly from animal fats, while physical labor just plummeted. This caused non-communicable diseases like coronary heart disease and stroke to absolutely skyrocket. Now, modern medicine did fight back with massive advancements in acute hospital management and preventative strategies, effectively delaying these primary events to much later in life. But here is where the alarm bells are really ringing. We are now entering an emerging 5th stage. An epidemic of inactivity and obesity threatens to reverse those hard-won decades of progress. In recent years, because of rising rates of type 2 diabetes and hypertension, the age-adjusted cardiovascular mortality rates that were falling for decades, they've actually started to increase again. Let's move to Section 3, a tale of two worlds. When we look at the globe today, the data sharply contrasts between 2 very different worlds. High-income countries, which make up just 15% of the global population, are generally seeing declining age-adjusted mortality rates. But low- and middle-income countries, which represent a massive 85% of the world's population, are experiencing rapidly rising absolute mortality from cardiovascular disease. Because of rapid population growth, urbanization, and industrialization, these developing nations are now the primary drivers of the global disease burden. And the specific types of disease burden are shifting geographically too. While high-income nations deal predominantly with coronary heart disease in older adults, diseases like rheumatic heart disease aggressively impact much younger populations in places like sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, and Oceania. The global inequality we're seeing here is just staggering. Section 4. Drivers of the epidemic. So what's actually fueling this? We can clearly categorize the main culprits into 2 buckets: behavioral lifestyle choices and the resulting metabolic consequences. It's the shift in our everyday behaviors that directly triggers the metabolic changes leading to heart disease and stroke. Let's detail those behavioral risks first. There are over 1.3 billion tobacco users globally right now, and tobacco alone causes 3.2 million cardiovascular deaths annually.
Add to that the rise in consumption of atherogenic trans fats as Western diet spread, and our massive shift from active agriculture to sedentary office-based work. I mean, physical inactivity alone is now responsible for 1.3 million global deaths, a stark, deadly side effect of replacing farm work with desk chairs.
So, the crucial point is how these behaviors translate into severe metabolic outcomes. Unmanaged hypertension is a devastating, silent threat, causing 53% of all stroke and coronary heart disease deaths worldwide. Meanwhile, global obesity is projected to reach nearly 900 million adults by 2025, and terrifyingly, 80% of undiagnosed diabetes cases are currently found in low- and middle-income countries. That's essentially hiding a massive future wave of cardiovascular events.
Section 5. Altering the trajectory.
Now, it's not all doom and gloom. We do have tools to fight back. One brilliant, accessible clinical intervention is the polypill strategy. By combining aspirin, a statin, and an hypertensive agent into a single low-cost regimen, we can drastically reduce cardiovascular events, especially in lower resource settings. It's so incredibly effective that it's actually been added to the World Health Organization's essential medicines list.
But a pill alone isn't enough. We really need a comprehensive approach here. Step 1 requires population-wide public health measures. Think aggressive campaigns against smoking and unhealthy diets. Step 2 is deploying low-cost clinical screening and interventions, like that polypill. And Step 3 is properly allocating resources for acute and secondary care. High-income countries absolutely must step up and help transfer these low-cost solutions globally to reduce the excess burden on developing nations.
When you step back and look at the big picture, it is the ultimate irony. Human advancement, our industrialization, our technologies, our incredible surplus of food, created the very lifestyle factors that now threaten us the most.
But here is the good news. By understanding the epidemiologic transition, we hold the blueprint to reverse the epidemic and save millions. We understand the behavioral causes, we see the metabolic results, and we literally have the low-cost interventions in our hands. The only question left is, can we survive our own progress? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I really hope it gave you something to think about.